What is happening, my bud smokers and movie lovers, and welcome to another episode of 5 on It, a show where we do two things, smoke doobies and review movies. We are your hosts. I am Francisco. He is Sir Frazier. And on today's episode, we are kicking off Halloween month. Obviously, it's the start of October. So we feel it's right to start off with Beetlejuice.
Oh boy, you guys are really a couple of spooksters, aren't you? Now, let's turn on the juice and see what shakes loose.
A 1988 classic starring Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, amongst others. But before we get into that, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, do all that other stuff with your other bud smokers and movie lovers. Sir Frazier, what are you smoking on, man?
Man, I am hitting this lime sorbet. This is from Higher Cultures again. Back at it, man. You know, I've been smoking that the Rocket Pop the last couple episodes, and moved on to the lime sorbet. It's indica, so we'll see how it goes.
Oh, you're actually smoking an indica?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you usually are on the sativa train, or
know.
maybe in the hybrids, but this is straight indica though.
Straight up. How about you, man? What you
Just
smoking?
gonna be out halfway through the show.
No. Might be coughing though.
It's going to take him on a ride. I am smoking on Chem Dog OG by Crystal Clear. They've come down in their price a little bit. I'm not sure if I mentioned that before, but they used to be $30 for a cartridge for a gram, and now they're $25. So that makes it even better.
In this economy, yes, sir.
And every time you go, you start working up points. So eventually you'll get money off of your next purchase or whatever. Or if you keep stacking it, then you'll get maybe you'll get your next purchase for free instead of money off. So that's a nice incentive to keep going. To keep going back to the same dispensary. Get reward points and stuff like that, so you can get free goodies and whatnot. Everybody can do some free stuff.
It's good to reward loyalty,
Oh yeah.
Well, man, let's jump into this movie. Obviously, this we're kicking off Halloween as you mentioned, but also Beetlejuice has been in the news a lot with the sequel, Beetlejuice. They brought back some pretty key pieces from the original, but
and
definitely
well
worth
received too. It was well received.
Yeah, it was well received. At this point, we didn't really need that movie, but it's fanfare. And hey, I love the original, and the new one is pretty solid.
Give us your. I haven't seen it yet, but give us your quick 2-minute pitch on it. If you liked it or disliked it, your quick 5 on it review.
I think for me, what makes this a better movie in comparison to the sequel is that the sequel has a lot of different storylines, and it can be a little convoluted, and some of them aren't as fleshed out as they could be. But with this one, I mean, it's relatively neater. With this one, you obviously you have the Maylands, you have Beetlejuice, you have Lydia, but you also have the Deets to some degree, right? You get understanding of what the Deets are, what's driving them. But it's all pretty much localized in the home, more or less. Whereas this one, the sequel, it bounces around a lot more. And there's some strengths in some of the other storylines, but it's just not as neat.
So you would say the original is just
I think it's better.
Yeah.
I think it's better. I mean, the best thing about both of these movies, in my opinion, and we're going to get into it with this one, for me, is Michael Keaton. He just nails this role, and that's true across both movies.
For sure.
But, to dive in, for those of you who have not seen this, there are spoilers in this conversation.
Yes, sir. That's what the show is. We can't hold back.
Can't do it. But so the summary for this is the spirits of a deceased couple are harassed by an unbearable family that has moved into their home and hire a devilish bioexorcist to drive them out. Man, so you covered it. This is Burton picture. Some side from some of the, Winona Ryder, a very, very young Winona Ryder, playing a lead role alongside the bigger guns that you mentioned, Keaton, Baldwin, and Geena Davis. Man, for good reason, this movie won Academy Award for Best Makeup. The makeup in this is so well done. And I think that's a tribute to Tim Burton, because up to this point, he came from more of an indie background. So he had a $15 million budget.
Yeah.
The studio gave him gave him a smaller budget, kind of assuming that somebody with his kind of directorial background could stretch the money. And they actually allocated, from one of the sources I read, $1 million to the visual effects side of things. And boy, you get a lot here. I mean, you get stop motion, replacement animation, you get the prosthetic makeup, the puppetry, and the blue screen, which my understanding was that, blue screen as opposed to green screen, blue screen is better with shooting in darker environments. Kind of help, and that really shows throughout this movie. I mean, it's very dark tonally, but also just with the lighting. I mean, you and I were talking off camera, man. What did you think about like the original story, dude?
Man,
completely different, right?
The original story, I mean, definitely has a darker tone to it. So if that's what you're kind of looking for, I think you would probably appreciate that a little bit more instead of more the comedic side. But when I was looking through some of like the original ideas, I was kind of like, thank goodness they made those changes. Because, I mean, granted, you never know. I mean, granted, you could read something on paper and you're playing your own movie in your head of how you read it. So who knows? I mean, I guess that could have ended up being a well-received movie as well. But seeing some of like the original ideas, I'm glad they got rewrites to work out a few kinks and whatnot. Me too, because I enjoy this movie. It's not just it's not like a 5-star or anything like that, but I watched this growing up and it appealed to me then, and it still appeals to me now, and it still holds up for the most part. Like whether it's like Beetlejuice turning into the snake when they're like walking out of like the room
on the staircase,
on the staircase, or even when the Maitlands are showing like when they go into talk to their caseworker, and they're like, all right, what do you got? And they start pulling their faces apart and shit.
That
like
was really cool. Like, that's a highlight for me.
Good, man. This still looks amazing. Granted, like when they go outside and they go into like the worm scenes, stuff like that. That gets a little bit much.
That's funny. I thought that too. But what I think for me is a saving grace is that I think Tim Burton has been on the record. He was influenced by a lot of the B movies from watching those growing up, and that aesthetic lines up with when I think about the B movies. Is kind of so aesthetically it worked when I thought about it in that context.
Well, since he said like that's what he was going for like that B movie type feel. He wanted the stuff look cheap, and I'm like, I mean, granted, that part I guess looks cheap in a way, but I'm just like, I don't know if you were even like successful in that, because it doesn't look cheap to me. I mean, maybe in a certain, I mean, I'm not a special effects expert or on makeup or the design or stuff like that, but I'm like, the shit still holds up. It still looks good compared to, I mean, I've seen a lot of B movies, a lot of shitty movies, and this still looks above all of those. But I can get what he's like going for as far as like, just stretching the budget in a way of like doing maybe B movie tactics. But the way he's shooting it makes it look like it's an A+ movie, which, I mean, like I said, it still holds up. This movie came out in 88, the year I was born. So, and I'm still watching it now, and it still, like I said, it still looks great. It still holds up. A few hiccups along the way, but
more than you can say for a lot of films that that are older, right? But something that I read that was really funny was that Warner Brothers hated the title. They were not a fan of that. The execs were pushing him to change it. And as a joke, Tim Burton pitched Scared Sheetless. And the studio execs loved it. They were like, yes, that's it.
They're like, you know what?
And he was like, yeah, what the fuck? So he had to kind of like axe that immediately. He was like, yo, this was a joke. I was trolling you.
I think they wanted to call it like House Ghosts.
Yeah, that was like one of them. I thought Scared Sheetless was hilarious.
Scared Sheetless.
Especially when you see the movie. And
that almost sounds like a spoof. If like you're going for a spoof movie, that's actually a perfect title. But House Ghost, that sounds terrible too, because that reminds me of Ghost Dad.
Canceled.
I'm canceled. Can't talk about that anymore.
No, that's facts though. But you know what though was also funny to think about this movie is that it's kind of an inversion of the concept of exorcism. Because usually when you think about exorcism, you think about a family or a home that's tormented by ghosts and want to exorcise the ghost, where these ghosts are trying to exorcise their house of these fucking invaders. Their friend was so annoying in the beginning trying to sell the house. Remember the realtor friend? She's like, hey, this house is so big. It's too big for just the two of you. It's a house for a family. And that's where we realized that Barb couldn't have kids.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so that becomes a really big part of the story. And actually, one of my favorite parts of the story, aside from Michael Keaton, is the bond between the Maitlands and Lydia kind of filling that maternal void that Barbara has.
Yeah, I was about to say that like Lydia kind of fills that void for her, like toward. That's why she feels so protective over her throughout the movie. Well, I say, I'm not quite a highlight, but just turning on this movie, right off the bat, like the first scene, you see like the house, like the model homes and everything, and then you see the fucking spider crawling over. You see old boy just grabbing it with his hands.
It's a big one.
I'm like, bro, because that just reminded me, bro. I just killed a gnarly fucking spider in my house, bro. This thing was the size of a fucking like a ball.
My God, that is a tarantula,
bro. I thought it was like a one of those brown recluse, and I had to like go online and be like, do brown recluse live in like the Washington or Oregon area? Thank God it said it didn't, but who fucking knows? All I know is that motherfucker was gnarly looking. So definitely in the winter, you may want to check your slippers, anything, clothes you got on the ground.
Why did you say that,
bro? I'm just saying.
I can't.
Bro, I was sitting on the
in peace.
We're diving into the weeds on some other shit right now, real quick.
Call the Orchid Man,
bro. I was sitting on the edge of my bed and I thought it was my cat that was crawling up to my foot.
It was on your bed?
No, it was like on the ground.
Oh,
I thought it was the cat, like just kind of crawling on the ground, and I looked down and it is a big fucking spider, bro. Big. And it almost got away, but like,
God!
I took my fucking mirror and I was just smashing it. I was like, you are not getting away. Fuck no.
Bro.
Hell no. I'll show you a picture of it.
No. I don't want to see that. I saw okay, this is an insider thing, so I'll show y'all. We're in the weeds, but fuck it, we're here. I told, when Cisco and I were living together, I think this came up. And you brought up the movie Arachnophobia. He's like, yo, I like that movie. And I was like, bro, I saw that when I was like 6 years old. I traumatized me. I fucking hate spiders. Dude, I would check my slippers because there's that scene in that movie where the fucking spider bites him and it was in the old man's slippers. I was like, bro, I was paranoid. I would check my fucking shoes. I still do sometimes.
Oh, I still do. Like shoes that's been like sitting for like a while, especially like boots or something like that. Like you have in like dark places, bro.
Horrible.
Oh, I check that every time, or like run a little the vacuum cleaner hose through it. Oh, I wanted to suck that motherfucker up because it was so big. I did not want to scoop it up.
Oh my God. That's outrageous. I beg your pardon.
Pause. Resume. I wanted to use the vacuum cleaner, but it was too late in the night and we got neighbors and shit like that, so we can't be doing any of that. But that was going to segue me to that movie, what you just mentioned, Arachnophobia, which I also think, since we're in the spirit of Halloween right now, it is a good, I mean, I fucking hate spiders too. They creep me the fuck out. I'm not like afraid of them. I'm going to kill the motherfuckers every time I see them. No, I think a lot of people, like, who said afraid? Who said that? Nobody said that. Who said that?
No, it is a phobia for facts.
A lot of people have that phobia. It's like, I'm not afraid of them. They're just gross. And if they're on my house, then hell fucking, like,
I can't sleep. If you hadn't killed it, I wouldn't be able to sleep in my room.
Oh no,
ain't no way.
Because dude, I'm telling you, this was like no ordinary. Like you see a regular old house spider, and you're just like, oh fuck that. Let me grab the shoe and everything. I'm telling you, if people would have saw this spider, you would have been like, hell no. I had to Google it because I'm like, whoa, this is some other shit right now.
I'm like, baby, bring me the axe.
But Arachnophobia is a gem of a movie. Whether you're afraid of spiders, that movie holds up. I'm not sure if they use real spiders or not.
Let's hope
I've never done like any sort of deep diving on like behind the scenes on that movie, but that is a banger.
No, but to your point though, going back to Beetlejuice, come full circle. Pause. I don't know why that sounded kind of weird, but anyways, well, you're right. The opening credits, we have this really beautiful model of the city. Initially, we can't. It wasn't even really apparent, right? If it's a model, because some of the angles.
Yeah.
But then you see this huge spider crawling over, and he just cups it and puts it outside. But like that's kind of like our intro to the Maitlands, played by Alec Baldwin, and Geena Davis. And we're kind of thinking, okay, everything is going well, right? And then they end up dying because they crashed their car off of a bridge and ended up drowning.
Yeah.
I believe is
How
how
do
they
they?
died.
Man, I just watched this movie this morning. I can't remember every single detail. How did they even crash? Did they
The
see
dog
some-
was in the way.
The
Remember
dog?
the dog?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
they
you're
were
right.
they were trying to avoid it, and
Even their death scene is done almost in a comedic way because the dog is like just sitting on the piece of wood while they're looking back.
Right.
And they're like, no.
Yeah.
And the dog is like, yes.
this movie is filled with dark humor. And it's interesting because I mean, this movie, while there is definitely a dark comedy aspect to it, it's also it's also billed as like having a horror as well.
Yeah.
And I just say that kind of becomes prevalent throughout this movie where you're dealing with the undead and what that life looks like.
Before we just dive into that, with the opening, just want to give a nod to the score as well, with the Danny Elfman score. Tim Burton.
Legend.
Obviously with the trifecta, the unusual trifecta, I guess, actor, director, and then I'm not sure, score, director.
Yeah, score,
With Danny Elfman, Tim Burton, and Michael Keaton. They had this in 88, and then they reprised their roles in different roles, but in the same way in Batman. Mm-hmm. So that's a back-to-back bangers for both of those, for all three of those guys. But
yeah, well, just to piggyback off of that, he worked with Burton from Scissorhands all the way up to Mars Attacks, and
Tim Burton did Mars Attacks.
Yeah, right, right.
That movie's not very good, but it has a special place when I see it on like if I'm in a
TBS.
hotel room somewhere and I'm just flipping through the random cable and I see Mars Attacks, I'm like, all right, let me check it out. Let's see what part of that.
Yeah, that that movie is so annoying. But what I was going to say, Elfman, right? Is how you pronounce his name? Elfman,
Yeah.
Right? He also did the Simpsons opening.
Oh damn,
bro, he's got some hits because there's scenes in this movie where, for example, we're zooming in on the model and we're finding Beetlejuice, where those piano keys kick in. You're just like, oh, this is just music to my ears.
I know
it's so good. It's like perfect for the mood of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it just puts you in a great mood too. as soon as you pop it on. I mean, then it put you in a bad mood as soon as you see that nasty ass spider.
Yeah, get it out of here.
But after the Maitlands die, they're kind of just stuck in their house and they're trying to figure out kind of what's going on and how do they get out of this situation. They find out that there is a family moving in, the Dietzes. That's how you pronounce it, right?
The Dietz, yeah.
And pretty much they find out that they can't see them, nobody can hear them or see them
except for Lydia
for some reason, and you're kind of
pale goth teenager,
which that will kind of lead into just a bit of a negative I have for the movie. But then they're left with a manual. I forget what the title of the manual is, how to deal with you just died and then dealing with the afterlife. They pick up some sort of manual and they're trying to figure out how how to get out of the situation.
Handbook for the recently deceased.
That's it. Handbook for the recently deceased. Yeah. And Baldwin's character, he's just kind of reading through it. Obviously, he can't really even understand half the thing. They say it sounds like a TV manual or some shit. But he finds out you got to draw this door, knock 3 times, and you're transported to pretty much like death's waiting room almost. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a part of the movie where Tim Burton is starting to show off a little bit with the effects and the set design and everything.
Oh yeah.
You just go in and you see all the characters that's in the room, whether it's the dude that died on what it looks like he choked on a chicken bone or something like that.
Yeah.
And you see the girl that's been sawed in half.
You got the shrunken head.
And the shrunken head dude was the one that was imprinted in my brain from when I was a kid. That thing just didn't scare me, but it just freaked the fuck out of me, especially by the end when you see Beetlejuice's head getting shrunken. And I'm just like, that dude looks creepy. He reminds me of Puppet Masters, the dude with the shrunken head with the big arms and everything. It reminds me of that motherfucker.
I can definitely see that. One of my favorite scenes, the time that they spend with their caseworker or in the waiting rooms, those are highlights for me. in this movie, because some of the reasons you said, like the actual design, the costumes, but even the dialogue, right? With a man that's burnt to the crisp offers Adam a cigarette, and he's like, he confesses, I'm trying to cut down. Yeah. And then, the receptionist tells them she knew when she was alive what she knows now. She wouldn't have had her little accident, and she shows that she slit her wrists. Yeah, exactly. It's just like, oh boy, like, oh.
Like when you go into like the background of this movie, and we just mentioned like what the original script is, you can see all the nods to like some of the original darker tones to it. And I mean, yeah, this is like a dark comedy type of movie, but you could see some of the nods to like where you're like, oh, this was had a much darker tone to it originally, but they had to line it up a bit for for the audience.
For sure. And the caseworker, she's so funny, man. She's like this. First of all, the crazy thing while they're in the waiting room is they pull their fucking ticket, and it's like $1 billion or $1 million. So they're waiting, and they're online. They're on like what number like 20 or something like that. Like, yo, I'm coming back. I'm gonna need y'all to text me when it's my turn.
I know. Where's the little Olive Garden buzzer? Yo, give me that little buzzer and just buzz me when my number's up.
But they end up meeting their coworker. I'm sorry, not their coworker, but their caseworker, and she tells them about Beetlejuice.
I didn't even notice that she died by somebody slit her throat. I'm guessing because the caseworker.
The caseworker, Juno.
Yeah, because you could see like her throat is like there's a big old slit in it. And I never noticed that until like I was just watching it today, and I was just like, "Oh, so that's how she died."
I never noticed.
Somebody got her ass. Maybe she's a little snitch. Yeah, somebody snuck up on her. Some little snitch bitch.
Well, I love when they're going to the office. Right. First of all, there's their video. So before they actually meet Juno, there's they talk to the guy who's flattened by the tire. He's like, "Hey, how I look down here? There aren't any mirrors." So you look good. He's like, "Really? I feel flat." Yeah. Like, that was fun. And then there's the guy who's hanging from the noose who's delivering papers. Yeah. Like, just more dark shit. That's what I'm saying. Like, the world building of like the afterlife was really funny and dark.
Now that you mention it, with like we're talking about with Tim Burton making everything look kind of on the cheap side. Mm-hmm. When I was watching it, my girlfriend kind of like was peeking over, and she was just trying to like take a look at it, and she made a comment, was just kind of like, why does it look like this? Why does it look like that? Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, it's Tim Burton. He's just like this is just kind of like his look,
his aesthetic.
Yeah, exactly. And I just mentioned one of like his other movies, and she was just like, oh, so she kind of understood after she realized like who it was. Yeah. So like, I guess like he was successful in that, making it like look on like the cheap side, but you kind of got to understand it's like that's what they're kind of going for.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like it's done for a purpose.
And I really like the color palettes too, like the greens that he used. Like, for example, when Lydia she has the master key, she goes upstairs because she's seen the Maitlands, right? She's seen them from the window when she was outside the house. But when she goes up there and she's trying to get in, and she sees the chalkboard door that Adam makes, and then she sees the green light. She's one of the few living who can actually see the dead, and she can read the manual. Yeah. But
which what I was gonna say, like, the reason why like she's able to see them, I was like, bro, come on. I was looking at the fucking the fourth wall of life. Like, what the fuck? I mean, I guess maybe. I mean, I can't think of a clever reason off the top of my head.
Well, near-death experiences, I can understand something like that, right? If you survived a near-death experience.
Maybe they're like, if you've survived a near-death experience, you're able to see somebody else that's like.
Yeah, you're more attuned. Like, I think that there's been some horror movies who have kind of dabbled or touched on that idea.
I think I like that idea better than it's just strange because, and unusual. I'm just strange and unusual. I was like, bitch, shut up.
I hear you.
I don't know, just because you wear all black, you think you're strange? Shut up. Get out of here.
You need some sun.
No, you just need to be outside a little bit.
For real.
And plus, also, how did these two redhead parents? Oh no, she was a stepmom. Yeah. Ah, that's right. But she does call her mom though too.
She does. She's
so quick to just be like stepmom. Yeah. Actually, but then she tells like, "Mom, can we get out of here?" I had to rewind it for a minute. I was like, "Wait a minute, bitch."
Yeah.
Why are you calling her mom?
Now you want to call her mom?
Yeah. Just like a teen.
What was I going to say though? Through Juno, we learn about Beetlejuice and his background, right? This, this bioexorcist who has kind of been, tempting the Maitlands to, say his name 3 times, and basically trying to get them to summon him so that he can, kind of wreak havoc. Really,
they're pretty much trying to figure out what they could do with how to scare away the Maitlands,
right?
And so some of their tactics, even beforehand, was just to put some sheets on and just wear that. And even Lydia's capturing some photos of them, but you don't see their feet and everything. They have like the big, the iconic dinner scene when they do the Harry Belafonte and all that type of stuff.
Definitely a highlight for me.
Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and me one go home. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and me one go home. Live 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch.
That's like I said, that's an iconic scene. Everybody, I'm sure they did that, or I've heard they try to like not relive, or just try to like make another scene similar to that in the second one.
Yeah,
but they find themselves unsuccessful because
they're amused.
They're amused. They enjoy it
by the possession.
Yeah, they find it almost like riding a roller coaster. They find it very exciting. But what's her name? What's Catherine O'Hara's character's name?
Oh, Delia?
Delia, yeah. And her lawyer, I even wrote down here, like, he doesn't really say much, but he just has like 2 lines where I'm like, he just fucking destroys Delia. Where he's like, I've constantly lost money on Delia's work for years. Oh. And that's what he's like, so I'll be the judge of that, or a judge of anything. I'm like, what?
Bro,
and
friends like that.
And he's like, if you insist on frightening people, do it with your sculptures. And then that's what he just walks off and leaves the scene. I was like, damn. That fucking lawyer just came in with a little 2-piece and dotted you up and got the fuck out of there.
He had them loaded.
He was waiting. Like, this was the last straw. He's like, bitch, you got me coming out to buttfuck Connecticut. I don't know where the hell I'm at.
Yo, facts.
But you're trying to spook me with some fucking ghosts and shit?
Well, what was funny, before that, right, they summon Beetlejuice. And they have to dig him out of the model.
Yeah, that's what the
graveyard.
When you start getting older, you start paying attention to certain things like that. Because when I'm younger, I'm just like, why does the grass look all weird? You just don't really make that connection. But it's like, oh yeah, it's the model.
It's the model, yeah.
Because you can see all like the cardboard and all that type of shit like they're digging up and everything.
They summon him. Yeah, off the rip, this dude is just out of pocket. Yo, he's like trying to grab and kiss on Barb. And then they asked him, he said, well, we really want to know, is like, what are your qualifications? He said, I went to Juilliard.
You actually hear Michael Keaton in his regular voice, which is like such a funny when like you're hearing him in like the Beetlejuice smoker's voice almost. Like, how in the fuck is he even making that? And then he goes into like his natural voice. It's such a funny throw.
Well, I attended Juilliard. I'm a graduate of the Harvard Business School. I travel quite extensively. I lived through the Black Plague, and I had a pretty good time during that.
I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it. Not to mention the fact that you're talking to a dead guy. Now, what do you think?
You think I'm qualified?
It really does throw you off. And he's like, what we mean is, can he be scary? There's like the jerk off motion. He's, oh yeah, gotcha.
Dude, he's only in this movie for, what do they say? Maybe like 10 minutes cumulative.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. I mean,
which
is really funny given he is the title character, the titular character.
Yeah, that's why. Because I think they make that note. I've just heard that just around other people saying that. Like, I mean, you kind of notice it when you kind of look back on the movie that, yeah, he's only in it for like, I mean, really towards like the end of the movie, and just for like that small introduction. Because even after that, when she's like home, 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 then he's kind of out of it for a little while
until they summon him. Yeah,
but when he is summoned, also I love some of the sound effects too that they apply with him when he's just, like I said, when he's even grabbing on her, you hear the little honking and stuff like that. It's just like small little like funny shit that they add into his character. It's pretty. I
mean, like, I love the way he was styled, his dialogue, his delivery. Like when when he opens up his jacket and spits in it, he's like, saving that for later.
Yeah.
Save that for later. It's just like, he's so disgusting.
Yeah, and then he's even when he changes like he does a little outfit change. He's like, "Hey, we're twins. We even shop at the same store. Mi hermano."
And he's still trying to grab Barb. It's just, yeah. I mean, given how little screen time he has, I mean, for me, he's the best part of this movie. He commands every scene that he's in. Mm-hmm. After the mate, what's that?
Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, after the Maitlands unsuccessfully try to scare the Maitlands and away at the dinner scene, right? They end up coming upstairs, anticipating that everyone ran away, and they're literally looking out the window, expecting everybody to run away scared. They don't. The Maitlands with Lydia and Otho come upstairs wanting to see and talk to the ghosts. Mm-hmm. And we see them, this is when Otto gets the manual for the recently deceased, and we see, the Maitlands hanging outside the window. Mm-hmm. And then we get that great shot of Michael Keaton where he said, "Oh, you guys are a couple of spooksters." Yeah.
The lighting on that shot and everything, I just thought that was so funny. Even just like the camera angle, like, "Oh, aren't you guys just a couple of spooksters?"
And then he gives the great line, "Let's turn on the juice and see what shakes loose." And that's where we get that really iconic scene with him and the snake snake. The visuals of that, what'd you think, man?
Well, that was still another highlight for me as well. It still holds up. Like even like it's not as bad as like the worm scenes, like when they go outside, but it just looks great. Still holds up. Even like when, what's his name? Otho, yeah. Dude, I want to give a quick shout out to his character. Glenn Shaddix is the actor. I want to say if that's how you pronounce his last name. But funny. He does Michael Keaton is the highlight of this movie, but he plays such a great role in his role. Mm-hmm. Just like this snobby, I want to say not aristocrat, but just like fashionista almost. Yeah. But he's just like the way his voice and everything, just, "I'll be the judge of that." And just like, I can only do so much when he's outside in his robe and everything. Oh. His whole character I thought was just like a highlight because he played it very well. Yeah. But when when Beetlejuice comes to life with the snake scene, it's just such an iconic scene. Even when she uses like that snake as a sculpture at the end of the movie. Oh my God, that was good too.
A hideous sculpture. Mm-hmm. I just love. "We've come for your daughter, Chuck." And then of course, they call his name 3 times, sending him back, and he's just like. He said, "What are you doing interrupting a professional?"
You bunch of losers! How dare you interrupt a professional while he's working?
I'm not fond of Charles Dietz particularly, but you could have killed him.
Hey, I'm just doing my job. Besides, I thought we had a deal.
He said, "It's okay. I don't want to work with you guys." Yeah. And then the scene where she picks him up and you see the thorns. Mm-hmm. That whole sequence, right? He's like, "I'm feeling a little anxious."
And it's shot still really well because he's supposed to be tiny as a miniature, mm-hmm. and she's supposed to be a normal size. So watching it, it still looks great.
So many funny lines too.
"Go ahead, make my millennium."
He's just hilarious. And then Juno, the caseworker, she orchestrates like this this brothel in the model community. And Barb looks at him, and Adam's like, "Adam, why did you build that?" "I didn't."
He's like, where can a guy go, a single guy go on a late night just to have some fun or get some love or whatever the hell he said. And then you just see all the fucking girls and everything. That shit was fucking hilarious.
That scene is so good, man. And again, going back to the costume work of the devil hookers. I guess you want to call them.
Yeah. I always thought why do they title the movie Beetlejuice in this way, but then they spell his name
different.
Yeah,
G.
Beetlejuice. It looks like Beetlejuice or whatever like that.
I have no idea.
I always wonder that.
I have no idea. That's a good question. Because I was confused by that to this day.
Because obviously it doesn't play well if you name the title that movie or you can spell it that way for the title because everybody's like, "What the fuck?"
Beetlejuice?
But I always looked at that and was just like, why do they spell it that way? I've always wondered that, but I've never found an answer on it.
Yeah.
But where you want to go next?
Man, I really like the visuals where they're talking with Juno. After this is the second time they're talking with her, and the football team is behind her. It's like, hey, coach. Like, again, like the dark humor of that whole scene.
Another line that I wrote down too that I kind of laughed at was when Lydia stumbles upon them, like when they're wearing the sheets and everything. And she's like, "Are you the guys that has been hiding in the attic?" And Adam just goes, "We're ghosts." Dude, I don't know why that shit just makes me fucking laugh. Or the delivery of the line, and Lydia just being like, "What the fuck are y'all even doing? Like, you can't be serious with this." And even that what leads into another, like, there's like so many iconic scenes for me when pretty much the caseworkers telling them they have to get the deets out. So like, what's like their best trick, or what's like their best thing that they're gonna do. And the couple, the Maitlands, just start pulling their faces apart and starts like doing all the things with their eyeballs and stuff like that, like putting them on their fingers and shit. Like, it's
still creepy as hell looking.
It still looks super fucking creepy, and like the makeup still holds up. But that was just another highlight of this movie. Yeah,
and you know, as they're meeting with their coworker or their caseworker, I keep saying coworker, their caseworker, Beetlejuice and Lydia are talking, and they play charades to get her to figure out what his name is, because he can't tell her his name, but the person has to say his name 3 times in order to summon him. And he's trying to kind of work a bargain. At this point, Lydia is very suicidal. She's planning on killing herself. And, you know, Beetlejuice is trying to entice her. Hey, you help me, I can help you. And that kind of comes into play in the next scene when Otto, using the manual for the recent deceased, decides to, wants to summon them. And they want to exploit the ghosts and use them as a kind of tourist attraction. That's what the deets are aiming for.
Almost like a get-rich-quick scheme in a way.
And so they call some of their friends, so-called friends from New York City, to come up and see this the ceremony, right, of summoning the ghosts. And they have both of their the Maitlands tuxedo and like wedding dress. And so those were 2 personal items that they needed in order to conduct the ceremony. And what we learned is that they're actually performing an exorcism. Which is weird to me that would be in the manual for the recently deceased. Like, why would you want to off yourself? You're already dead. You want to exercise yourself? I don't understand.
Even with with old boy's boss, when like Lydia's like, "You're killing them," and he's like, "Oh, honey, they're already dead. They don't feel a thing." And I was like, "No, you motherfucker! They feel everything. You need to stop this shit."
The visuals of them
growing old,
that was a highlight for me. Again, man, tipping the hat to the visual effects team. They did a great job, man. The makeup, all of that. And as they're being exercised, Otto's trying to kind of reverse it, but like it's
too late.
It's too late. And so Lydia, she summons Beetlejuice.
It's showtime.
I love the quick pro quo is he'll save them. He's what he say. I'm like what you might call an illegal alien. And he basically wants to wed her in order to be able to stay amongst the living. And so in order to save the Maitlands, she has to agree to marry him. And I just love like showtime. It's again another iconic like line and shot of him.
Iconic scene. Now it's an iconic GIF and meme that everybody's using nowadays. And even when you get the wedding scene with the little alien as the pastor or whatever.
Yeah, the shader.
Oh my god! And then you also get the. This episode should be. How many times do we say iconic in this episode? Shot another iconic Halloween outfit. Speaking of Halloween as well, when you see Lydia in the red dress and Beetlejuice in his tuxedo. I swear I see that at least some couple is always wearing that outfit every Halloween. If you go out, you're guaranteed to see it somewhere.
Yep.
But that whole scene just kind of cracks me up with the little alien in his voice. That shit just fucking makes me laugh.
Nobody said the B word.
Yeah.
When he mimics Lydia's voice.
She's a little bit nervous. Maybe I should answer for her, okay?
I'm Lydia Dietz, and I'm of sound mind. The man next to me is the one I want. You ask me, I'm answering. Yes, I love that man of mine.
Like I'm in my sane head. I'm on sound heart.
I'm sound body and mind.
Yeah.
Take this man.
It actually said Beetlejuice is only in this movie for 17 minutes.
Okay, 17 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this movie.
The movie is titled Beetlejuice, but it
minutes.
is kind of like the story is about the Maitlands.
Yeah,
it is about Barbara and Adam.
And Lydia. I mean,
and Lydia and like the Dietzes. But it's like for as little screen time as Beetlejuice gets, I mean,
he commands every scene that he's in, and he steals every scene that he's in. And when as they're getting married, right? Beetlejuice and Lydia, the Maitlands are returning to their regular ghost form. They're like regenerating now that the exorcism's been interrupted, and. When he tries to see, he says Beetlejuice. When he's about to say it, he snatches out his teeth, like that whole scene where he's dancing over the teeth as they're like chattering. Mm-hmm. That was funny as hell. And then when Barbara says Beetlejuice, she's like, the special effects of him shrieking was so funny. He zips her lips, and then she unzips, says it again, and when he mounds and winds up and pitches that plate across her lips. So good.
Bro, that whole sequence, that made me I had to pause it for a quick second because when he shrieks, I am a sucker for a good scream. It doesn't matter if it's like comedy, horror, whatever. If I hear somebody screaming in like that high pitch, like it just tickles me and that shit cracks me up, man.
It reminds me of that Simpsons episode where Ned Flanders like shrieks. Yeah. And you think it's a woman, but all the while it was actually Ned. Oh God. Good stuff.
I don't know but I mean, I got a couple of like little, nothing like we need to like dive into, but just two quick little hitters, some high points, and maybe even like some questionable things. What kind of like move-in construction crew was the fuck that was? Because immediately they smashed like the ramp into like the fucking staircase. Then you crash the fucking sculpture into the window. Yeah. And then you trap the mom behind her. Yeah, I'm like, you almost killed the fucking the mom and dad. Yeah. And I'm like, God damn, you're already destroying this whole fucking.
Stop. We'll do it ourselves.
You're done. You're done here. Just leave the equipment. I'll figure this shit out. Get out of here. But then also, we haven't really spoken too much of her, but Catherine O'Hara. But she'll always be
the worst mom.
Kevin's mom. I was trying to think of Macaulay Culkin's name. She'll always be Kevin's mom to me.
The Lannister's mom.
And you could see like when she does like the shriek in Home Alone, the Kevin. Mm-hmm. Man, you can see a little bit of that come out when she's kind of going off on Charles, played by Jeffrey Jones, who we won't go into some of his other shit, little side stuff. But she's going off on him. And she's like, if you don't let me gut this house, then I will take you down with me. I got such like Home Alone vibes from like that quick little like sequence that she delivered.
I can see that for sure.
But I just want to give her flowers. Like she does a marvelous job in this movie. Everybody pulls their weight across the board. I can't find any weak points as far as like the acting or the cast.
The casting was great. I mean, I loved the Maitland's casting was great. And Beetlejuice, I mean, they weren't even. I mean, there were other actors considered, with some of them very surprising. And Michael Keaton got it. And dude, the duo of Burton and Keaton has been really successful. Both these Beetlejuice movies, both Batman and Batman Returns. Mm-hmm. Like, because he returned for Batman Returns, right? He returned as director, right?
Tim Burton?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Okay, I thought I was just double checking, but I mean, they are a winning team, at least in the movies that I've seen and that I know of them working together.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned like you throw in Danny Elfman. He may not get the notoriety that he deserves because he just does like the scores of films and whatnot. But adding like the score of movies to me like can really like tie up the whole everything. It can really make you feel the emotion of a scene or like the action of a scene. Whatever it makes you feel, the score of the film is very high of a priority for me, just as much of like cinematography or anything like that. And Danny Elfman does his thing.
Man,
but like him, Tim
score.
Burton, Michael Keaton. It's so funny how it went from Beetlejuice to Batman. It's such like
in 1 year's time.
Yeah,
88 and 89, like it's literally back-to-back years.
Especially when you just think of like Batman and like who he's supposed to be, and then you see you watch Beetlejuice and you're like, yeah, that guy right there, he should play Batman. I don't see that at all, and so it's so funny to see like Michael Keaton maybe should get even more credit as far as like maybe the roles he does. How much of like a chameleon he is and how many different genres he can step into. Yeah. Whether it's like a serious or comedy. I don't know if he gets enough credit, but he should.
Okay, two things. One, I want to get right back to that, but just to kind of going back to the successful partnership between these two. Well, I guess three if we're including Elfman, but this movie was budgeted $15 million. We talked about that earlier. It made upwards of $80 million.
Yeah, just under $100 million worldwide.
Yeah,
but in 1988.
They made $84.5 million is what I'm seeing from box office for this, right? And then the success of this movie paved the way for Batman.
Yeah,
and another hitter, back-to-back years, right?
They said this Beetlejuice was in the top 10 of highest-grossing movies of that year. So, I mean, granted, like when you hear it nowadays, you're just like, that much? Like, there's some movies that make that in a weekend, opening weekend. Yeah. But, I mean, it's 1988. It's Beetlejuice. It's not a name brand.
And there's an Academy Award attached to this movie.
Yeah, exactly. And you when you hear about all, like the rewrites it had to go through, and even, like, people was, like, after, like, Catherine O'Hara signed on, it was said that, like, a lot of other actors, it took maybe more convincing to because people thought it was a weird script. They didn't know what to think of it.
It was, and it is.
To think of like where it started and where it's at now.
Yeah,
I would say this movie's a huge success.
Definitely is.
Huge success then, huge success now. Especially now, it's the sequel just now came out almost 30 years later.
Yeah. Earlier this month.
Yeah.
Early in September. Yeah.
Can't say enough nice things about this movie and this mini franchise in a way.
Yeah, and going back to Michael Keaton, do we put enough respect on his name?
Michael Keaton?
You think we put enough respect by like the culture do like American public? Do you think we put enough respect on his name as a?
I don't know because like when they think of like
actor?
I don't think so because when they think of like the best actors working right now, I don't think he's ever really mentioned. You probably have to siphon through a few other names. I mean, maybe I don't even do that as well. But it's just, I don't know, every time you see him, like, even like when he's the villain in Homecoming, Spider-Man, he's so good in that. That's why that's arguably the best Tom Holland Spider-Man movie of it.
I mean,
to me, it's between 3 and 1. But the reason why 1 is so good for me is because it's Michael Keaton. And every time Michael Keaton shows up, I definitely enjoy it. I'm a huge Michael Keaton fan, so.
I mean, he's been nominated for Best Actor. And he's also got a Golden Globe for Best Actor. So he's been nominated. So he's been recognized as one of the best within the Academy. And on the Golden Globe side, he has one. So, I mean, he's been in some really good movies. And certainly, and here's the thing. Like, I got to be also truthful. He's been a part of some movies that are just, there's such strong nostalgia for me. And it's been great, too, because while I have those nostalgic memories of Beetlejuice, the Batman movies, right? That he was in, he's also had like this second wave in his career where he was killing it with Birdman. Really enjoyed that movie. Very odd, but like he does his thing on that movie. The Founder, Spotlight, Spider-Man, Toy Story 3, what I'm saying? So he is definitely having like the other guys. He's funny as hell. And the other guys you were telling me about. I've seen those clips.
Oh my god, he's so funny in that.
So I mean, like Jackie Brown is another. That was not quite the second wave, but that was a really great movie. And so like it's been fun, like just kind of seeing like him in this almost like this second wave and just like all the success that he's garnering.
What voice did he do in Toy Story 3?
Ken.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if I even recognize that.
I mean, they
should have had him in the Barbie movie then.
Ken?
Yeah, as a Ken. Because that could have been a nice little inside joke to just be
as the older Ken?
Yeah, as an older Ken. Damn, that could have been that's a missed opportunity right there. I still haven't seen that Barbie movie.
Good. I mean, it was one of the best movies I saw that year.
It just does not interest me at all. I can't just like unless we put it on like the list to review, and
I'm totally down to review it.
I'll definitely be down to review it. But I don't know, like if I'm just going to watch it just for the fun of it, I just can't find myself press and play.
It was definitely one of my honorable mentions for 2023 when we talked about that. Also, stay tuned. We're going to be doing top 5 for 2024 in December.
Oh yeah, that's definitely gonna be coming up.
Definitely, there's been some really good movies that came out this year, so definitely looking forward to talking about those.
You know, another line, quick one by Beetlejuice when they summon him for the first time, when they meet him for the first time, is when he kicks the tree.
Nice fucking models.
You hear the honk honk? You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's another line.
That's
that
another
just kills
great
me,
one.
Man. I said only in it for 17 minutes, but he fucking squeezes every ounce of fucking water out of that fucking shit.
And then at the very end, after the worm from Saturn,
oh my god,
sandworm devours him. He ends up back in the waiting room. In the afterlife, which is so funny to me. Like, he's already dead. Like, he's going back here. How did he find his way back? Okay.
He's back there.
How did the sandworm get there in the Maitland's home? Didn't understand that.
She's riding it like the Mob Deep.
Yo, she came through a portal.
Put Geena Davis in Dune.
Oh, man.
But that's when you also, once you get to the end, and then you see Beetlejuice in the waiting room, and then he switches tickets with like the head shrinker, and he just sprinkles the little dust on him, and it's just like, oh my god. So that's how I was like, oh, so that's how the dude got it.
Yeah,
good to know.
Well, even before that, right? He's sitting next to the woman that was sawed in half. He's like rubbing her legs, and she slaps him. Her top half is like on one side, her legs on the other, and Beetlejuice is in the middle. He's like rubbing her legs, and she slaps the shit out of him.
It's so good.
It's great, man.
You want to dive into the scores now?
Man, let's do it. I'll let you kick it off, man. What you thinking?
Well, for my score, this movie has a lot of nostalgia for me since I watched it as a kid growing up. I love Michael Keaton. There's so many things I love about this movie, so I am going with a solid 4. To go along with the things I just said, has some rewatchability to me. It's not like a bust a gut laughing as like per minute. It's not like my top 10 like funniest movies ever or anything like that. But I enjoy it. I always watch it around the Halloween season, which we are in right now. It's a staple in my household around the Halloween season. So Beetlejuice gets a 4 for me.
Man, yeah, another week. I agree. This is a 4 for me. I think that this movie hits a lot of notes for me, not only nostalgia, but the comedic value of this movie. The visual effects are, as we talked about, really fun. It's just really visually, it's a really fun movie to watch and has a lot of replay value. I could watch this midway through, the beginning. It doesn't matter. I guess for me, though, a negative that I have is I wanted more Michael Keaton in this movie.
Yeah, I would like more Beetlejuice because, the movie is titled Beetlejuice.
It's titled Beetlejuice, and to me, this isn't one of those things like with Jaws, right, where we talked about how little screen time Jaws actually has, or Alien, right? Because those are straight up horror movies, or one's horror, one's thriller, and so relying on building tension, I can appreciate using those monsters sparingly, given that, right? But with him, because comedy is a huge part of the story, even though when it's dark, he was the best comedic aspect of this movie, so I wanted more of that.
Yeah, because like with Jaws, you feel this looming threat.
Exactly.
Always that's looming over you. But with Beetlejuice, you don't feel like. I mean, granted,
he's menacing.
There's parts in it where like they say the name twice, but then they don't say it the third time. So it's like as like a watcher, you're kind of like, they almost did it there, but it's not like a looming threat. He's not a looming threat like that. Maybe that's how it was in the original script because he was more demonic in the original script. So maybe that he was more of a threat in that one because he definitely wasn't more of a pervert in that. He definitely was more of a murderer. He was trying to like kill the deeds,
and other things.
Yeah,
yeah.
He didn't want to just. He didn't want the marriage. He just wanted the consummation.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was definitely essay heavy in that in the OG draft.
Thinking of it, maybe they could have like opened the movie with showing like the backstory of Beetlejuice a little bit. Maybe showing him like getting banished away or something like that. Have some sort of opening with like how like the caseworker. Like
or flashback with the caseworker when she's describing him.
Exactly what she described. Maybe see like a scene of that.
Yeah,
how it opens.
That's a good point. I could have gone with that. That would have been another. Could have been another really fun scene too, just to see like how crazy he was on that side.
Especially you could have that could have taken place like years ago. That could have been like 800 years ago, and then like it goes to present day, and then you see the spider crawling up on the dude's hand.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a knock for me as well. Why wouldn't I want more Michael Keaton? He's he's one of my favorite actors. So yeah, that's definitely understandable
for sure. Well, hey, that brings us to an end of today's episode, man. Thank you for joining us on another episode of 5 on It, and happy Halloween as well.
Yes, sir.